Good evening, everybody. Calm Biker here, taking the as yet unnamed CB500X out for a ride, and it's a special one tonight. The purpose of the bike, got Mrs. C on the back for the very first time. Obviously not the first time she's been on a bike, but the first time she's been on this bike. Last time she was on the CB500X, it ended badly. Hopefully not tonight. But yeah, we just thought we'd nip out. I'm going the long way round because Mrs. C has the unadulterated luxury of a back box to lean on and two handles to hold on to. Compared to the Z1000, that's quite a feat. So it'll be interesting when we stop to see what she thinks of it. We're heading for a coffee, going to Hornsey for a coffee, and anybody that knows the area, Graham, will be saying, well, why is he going that way for a coffee at Hornsey? Because this is absolutely the other direction to Hornsey from where I live. But it's a really nice road to ride down, and it's a bit of practice for me with Mrs. C on the back of this, and a bit of practice for Mrs. C sitting on the back of this. And it's a longer ride. The ride to Hornsey down the main road is a bit dull, and down the little lanes is probably a bit too much for her getting used to being on this thing. I've only ridden it 4 times now. We've had the weather, but I've been back at work. Unfortunately, I couldn't get it while I was on holiday, so I've been back at work, so I haven't really had the opportunity. And it's generated jobs like crazy. When I got it home, I thought, right, I'll put it in the garage. And then the problem was, how do I get it in the garage? After the old one got written off, once I was capable of actually doing things again, because my arm was kind of working enough again, I completely reorganised the garage. I bought some new cabinets, bought new shelving, and I geared the garage up to be a workshop for one bike. When I brought this one home, that did raise a little bit of a problem that there wasn't enough room for 2 bikes. So at the minute I've got to kind of squeeze the Z in at the back, because I've been waiting to take this one out with Mrs. C. So that one's squeezed in at the back of the garage, and lots of stuff's piled around it, so it's very difficult to move it at the moment. And this one's been at the front of the garage, where it's a little bit easier to get out, although I do have to move some things out of the way still to actually allow that to happen. So I've bought some new garage shelving that's going to go at the back of the garage. 2 of my 3 cabinets are going to go at the back of the garage in front of the shelving, and I'm going to take the backs off the cabinets. So the cabinets will basically be 1 metre deep instead of 600mm, because the shelving is 1200 by 400mm. So I'll be able to get my big saw put away for the first time ever, I hope. My big mitre saw. And hopefully tidy the place up a bit. I might have to lose a cabinet or a cupboard, but hopefully with the new shelving there'll be enough room. And then I've got a list of jobs for the bike. There are a few that I knew I was going to have to do. I'm going to fit a chain oiler to it, because if you've got a bike for doing distance on, it's definitely handy to have a chain oiler. And I have one like I had on the other bike. I can't remember what it's called. I'll put it up on the screen or in the link or something. I'll link to the old video about it. No, I won't. I've just remembered it's called a Totoro. So it's a little bit like a kind of, what's the name, chain oiler, it's Scott oiler, but it doesn't use electricity or vacuum. It just uses gravity and some magic with magnets, and momentum, and the bike bouncing about a bit. But it was really good on the old one, so I'm going to put one on this one as well. And I need to get myself a manual for the bike. Can't seem to find a proper Honda manual, so I might have to resort to Haynes. And then there's a couple of other little jobs I want to do, and one that I found today. When I bought the bike, when I first went to see it, there were a couple of things I didn't like the look of. Not enough to put me off buying it, because I knew they weren't going to be big deals. So one was the chain had quite a bit of surface rust on it, but they've actually cleaned that off and it wasn't really a problem. The tyres are a little bit old. I mean, the bike's only got 5,300 miles on, so I assume that they've been on from the start. They're a bit squared off in the middle. They're legal, but they're definitely squared off, so I'm going to have to change them in a not too distant future. I might see if I can get through the rest of this year and change them in winter, although this will be a winter bike, I think, and the Z1000 will be tucked up for winter, so maybe not. And the one that I found today that that I did mention to them, when I looked at the side stand, to be fair, I was trying to get a few quid off. I looked at the side stand and I thought the bottom of that side stand looks like it's got rust starting on it under the paint or the powder coat, whatever's on it. And I thought I'll try and get a bit of money off with that, saying it's got rust. I'm going to need to sandblast it and repaint it. But actually, now I've looked at it again, I've realised what it really is that the person who's owned it before me has clearly lowered the bike. Now the bike's been put back up to height again, but when they've lowered it, they've had to cut down the side stand. So it's the original side stand, but they've cut, I think, about 1.5 inches out of it, and then welded a circular plate on the end and repainted it. And that means the bike leans over too much, and it means the big foot that I was going to fit to it so that it's more stable on soft ground doesn't fit. Now, I'm not going to try and get somebody to weld me 1.5 inches back onto it. I think I'm going to end up buying a new side stand for it, but I've found them online. They're only about 40 quid, so it's not too bad. So yeah, I haven't ridden it a huge amount because of say, weather, work and jobs. So it's nice to get out on it on such a nice evening. Up until 3 o'clock this afternoon, the weather forecast said at 5 o'clock it's going to start raining, at 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock expect thunderstorms, and it's now 7:15 and they aren't coming, are they? Maybe I'll get them on the way back, I don't know. But the weather forecast changed suddenly from being thunderstorms to clear, so thought we'll have a bit of that. Anyway, I think that'll do for this video. Thank you for watching, everyone. Ride safe, and I'll talk to you all again soon.